So the difficulty was the Mishnah. There's difficulty that the Gemara. Where are we here? On Nedarim. That was page Govam page 9 base. Page 9 would be so. It comes out that the Gemara doesn't explain. At least the Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara doesn't explain the difference between the Reish and the Seifa. Why is Rav Meir arguing? It means the Gemara doesn't talk about the Seifa at all. The Reish was. The first case was where he knew that there's a neder, but he didn't know he has the power to be mefer. Right. So over there, everybody holds yofer. Right. At the clock didn't start yet. But if he knows that he has the power to be mefer, but he didn't know that this is a neder which needs to be mefer or that he could be mefer, so this particular neder is a machlokes, and then why doesn't explain it? Why are they arguing about it? So I don't. So I don't know. The Gemara doesn't explain it. The whole Gemara's conscious was the way we said that you take the pasuk the way we would understand it with what we call with logic and say that apply what the Torah is talking about, or you just take it literal the way it is. Okay, that's more we would learn correctly according to the Rosh. And the next Mishnah on Peiches, which was talking about that a person cannot give a benefit to his son-in-law, is there a way to give to his daughter without giving to his son-in-law? So the Mishnah Taka is very difficult. I mean, the wording, it says that he says, I'm giving you a present. You can test the daughter that this money is given to you as a present, that your husband should not have any jurisdiction over it, only what you put into your mouth. So there are two different statements. One is saying that I'm not giving it to you, only way to put it into your mouth. That means you didn't give it to her at all. The first one is saying there's a way to give it to her husband, to her without giving it to her husband. So the Mishnah is very contradictory in the same words. So it seems, and also we had the problem that Rav says the Mishnah is the way that it says. He has to say only you're giving what you're putting into your mouth, and Shmuel says you don't have to. Even if you say Masha Terzi Tasi, if you do whatever you want with it, that's also good enough. And the Mishnah says not. The Mishnah says only what you give and put into your mouth. So the Mefarshim say that Rav, Shmuel agrees to Rav that that's Pshat in the Mishnah. He's not coming to argue Pshat in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says so, that he has to say, I'm only giving to you in order to put into your mouth. And he agrees that that's what the Mishnah says. The question is who he passes like. So it's not a regular way the Mishnah would talk. The Mishnah usually would talk and say that everybody agrees that's Pshat in the Mishnah. The question is only, do we pass like that or not? It's not really a loy shanu. So that's the lashon of Nedarim is different than the rest of the Shas usually, and that's what comes out. That everybody agrees our Mishnah holds. You have to say, I'm not giving it to you. I'm not even giving it to you, only for eating purposes. And your husband has I'm not giving it to you at all. If you would give it to the husband, there's no way to give it to the husband without giving it. No way to give it to the wife without the daughter without giving it automatically to her husband. That's what our Mishnah seems to say. Why does it say two terms? First it says, I'm giving it to you that the husband shouldn't have a shus. So the Mishnah explains itself. That the only way that I can do that is by saying, Masha Atno says for I'm only giving it to you when you put it into your mouth. And before that, I'm not giving it to you. So even though it's a bit difficult in the terms, the way that the Mishnah is using, and the Gemara also, it's not a regular terminology, but that's what seems to come out. That our Mishnah says there's no way to give it to her in a way that the husband shouldn't have, right? It's the only way you can say is, I'm not giving it to you. You could use it, but it's mine. But I'm not giving it to you only when you eat it. And that way the husband is avoided because he never gave it, the wife doesn't own it.
That's the way Avram Nissen said it.
And we had difficulty with the wording that it says sounds like he's giving her I'm giving it to you as a present, and your husband shouldn't have a shus. That doesn't really work. And the Mishnah comes out that these words are coming to say that you cannot do that only by saying the following: I'm giving it to you only for the purpose of eating. Only when you eat it. I'm only giving it to you for
it only became yours
when you eat it.
When you eat it, and that's too late for the Baal to do.
Right. It doesn't have any pairs from that.
So Shmuel isn't that what Avram Nissen said?
Yes.
Okay.
And Shmuel agrees to that's Pshat in our Mishnah. And even though Shmuel says, no, you don't have to, you can just say, I'm giving it to you, and your husband should not have a shus in it. Do it whatever you want, and it's yours. But your husband has no rishus, so he's not reading into the Mishnah because the Mishnah doesn't read. The Mishnah says, "Mashat no says when a sentence befich." Only what you put into your mouth. So the Mefarshim say Shmuel is not coming to argue that that's Pshat in the Mishnah. He's just coming to argue that that's not how we paskin. That we're not going to paskin like this Mishnah. We're going to paskin like
Or he's not going to explain the Mishnah.
He's not going to explain the Mishnah because the Mishnah says beferish. Masha atnu stanis for says beferish. How can you say you don't need that? So he's not coming. That's the Mefarshim Matchik that Shmuel is not arguing that with Rav the Dash on the Mishnah, but he doesn't hold like that. Okay, so the Gemara continues. Amud Beis to say that Rav is going in the sheet of Rav Meir. What does Rav Meir say? So another was going to have a contradiction. What's it all about? It is Rav Meir. So they point out that Rav Meir didn't say Yad Ishak Yad Baila. He never said that. He talked about Ein Kin Le'eved below Rav. If you look at the Rush, he brings a one Kedushin that says Ein Kin Le'eved below Rabbo, and Rav is saying that Rav Meir will hold the same thing by a wife. Just like by an Eved, it's impossible that the Eved should own something without the Rab owning it. Mashkan Eved kind of Rabbo. So too, he holds by a woman also that as soon as the woman owns something, it's a little different. By the Eved doesn't own anything. As soon as the Eved owns it, the Rab owns it. By the woman, it's not that the husband owns it and not the wife. It just means that he gets Paris right away. There's no way to give it to the woman that the wife shouldn't have Paris. So that's what Rav said. And they might Akasha because there's another Stam Mishnah that says that by making an Eruv, so he could be Mizakeh to others through his wife. And that must mean that she has a yad, she has a way to be Kona. If not, it's like putting it from his right hand to his left hand. The way we said yesterday, the rest of it is the way we said yesterday, that the Gemara had Akasha that if that's so then it'd be a steer of Meir. It could be a Meir only holds that by Evan. He doesn't hold it by Anisha. Because here it says by a woman that he could give his wife the Eruv in order to be Zocha for everybody else. If she doesn't have a kinyan without the husband, so then didn't go out of his jurisdiction. So the more answer that two answers, it comes out. First Rabbi tried, and then Ravina and Ravashi, they fine-tuned it a little bit. That usually the Rav is right, that according to our mayor, a woman cannot have a kinyan on her own without the husband, and therefore he shouldn't be able to give something to the woman that should be for other people. So Rav said that there's a difference, because since he's giving it for the purpose, since the whole purpose of the husband is giving it in order to give to others, to be zocha for others, the same way, the Rosh explained, the same way that a man can give a present to his wife that should belong to her, because he's being misalek himself, he's removing himself from the ownership, he's giving it to her. So too, if he's giving it to her to be zocha for other people, so that's also, he's misalek himself, he's taking away his rights of ownership of the thing he's giving to his wife. So too, he's giving up the ownership of that his wife shouldn't have a chelik in what his wife is being zocha for the other people in the chutzner, and it's a good way to make an Eruv. Ravina had a kasha because there's a brisa that says that you cannot give to his wife as far as Eruvin also, even for Eruvin, even though he's telling the wife to be zocha for everybody else, it does not work. And the Gemara says it must be, you have to fine tune it a little bit, that if he has a reason to give the wife herself personally, he's giving his wife, because the case would be that she has a chutzner in the same mavli, and he has to give her in order to be able to have a chelik in the Eruv. In order the Eruv should work, everybody has to have part of this pooled food together, so he has to give his wife. So since she's being zocha for herself, and that everybody agrees that a husband can give his wife a present that she owns and he doesn't own it anymore, so too, once she's being zocha for herself, she can be zocha for everybody else. So that part we said right. The real thing that we added on now today, just to go through the corrections of today. In the first part, did we have any correction? Did we change anything today? Just that the point was right, that the Mishnah doesn't explain the difference between the Reish and the Sefer. We left that difficult, and the Mefarshim also don't seem to say the difference. I don't know how come Rav Meir holds it's different in the Sefer than in the Reish. And as far as this Mishnah, it comes out that everybody agrees that that's from the Mishnah, that he cannot give it to his daughter without the husband owning it. Shmuel's not arguing about that. He just says that we don't pass like the Mishnah. That's how Mefarshim seem to say. And the words of the Mishnah are going to read that even if he said it still doesn't work, only if he says he has to specify, I'm only giving it to you for the purpose of eating, otherwise it doesn't belong to you. And that's another way of saying that a husband automatically owns whatever the wife owns. The Gemara comes out that there's an exception when he gives it to her personally, and then he's giving her a present, then he could. The husband can give it. Here the case was that the father was giving her a present, so then he can't give it without the husband owning it. But a person could give to his wife a present that she should own, and agav that he can give to other people also. If she's being zocha for herself and for other people, so then it could belong to other people. Then the works also. So that was just touching up yesterday's Gemara. Baruch Hashem, more or less went well.
This said that according to the Rav, that he's in solid, his violence,
His rights, right?
his rights, is that on all his nechastim or only this?
This thing that he's giving her, whatever he's giving her.
Not all.
Yeah, that's what he's giving her. Otherwise, he owns he has the rights to the Paris. That's what he's giving her. He's saying, here, I'm not going to take my rights, and I'm giving it to you, and it's yours. And that seems that everybody holds that when he gives a present to his wife, it belongs to her. Okay, so if that's good, so we're continuing at the bottom of the pasuk says, this is a pasuk. The Nedarim Manor Gusha, Kol Asher. What does it say? Yakum Aleha. That
You come along as part of it.
yeah, it's part of the pasuk. I might have some words missing over there. Yakum Aleha. So there's some 3 dots over there. We'll put in the 3 dots. Whatever, etc. Before, I'm sorry, after Gusha. The Nedarim Manor Gusha. Kol Asher Asra Nafsha Yakum Aleha. So that's all the pasuk. Asra Nafsha Yakum Aleha. It doesn't let me make a line over here. Okay, it doesn't let me. This first line is the pasuk, and it's missing some words in between. So the pasuk just finished talking about or a woman who's married. It talks about an unmarried woman, so the father has the right to be made for her Nedarim. Then it talks about a married woman. It talks about 2 parshas, about a rusa and about a nesua. In between, it says that if she's a widow or a divorcee, so then her Nedarim are like anybody else, like a man makes a neder. So there's no way to be made for it. It's a regular neder. Almana or grusha, her Nedarim are kayam. Seems to be a simple pasuk. That only if she has a father who has the right to be made for her Nedarim or her husband, but otherwise she's like anybody else, and her Nedarim are affirmed, and she has to fulfill them. But the Mishnah is going to talk about a specific case about an almana. The case is going to be that she made the neder before she was married, for when she's going to be married. It means she made a time lapse between her talking and taking effect. She said she's going to become a Nazir after 30 days. She didn't accept the Naziris right now. She said, I'm hereby making myself a Nazira in 30 days. Within 30 days, she got married. The husband comes into the marriage and he finds out that his wife's a Nazira now because she made a neder 30 days ago. He hears about it because he'd be made for her. Because right now it affects him. She made the neder before she got married. So the Mishnah says, since when she made the neder, she was not married, even though when the neder is taking effect, she is married. That's included in the pasuk that says she was almana grusha. She was not married. Even though when the neder takes effect, she is married, that doesn't give the husband a right to be made from. Even though you'd say like it's nefesh and this, when he found, it doesn't make a difference if he knew about it before they got married. They can't make it at that time.
There's pashut.
That she's not married, and even when he gets married,
pashut that he married her with a neder.
If he knew about it, didn't know about it,
If you knew about it,
and even if he didn't know about it, either.
that seems like a hiddush if he didn't know about it.
You can't be made for something that came before the she's in the list.
And there's no difference if he knew about it or he didn't. Which way is the chiddush? I'm not sure which way is the more of a chiddush, but since the neder was made when she was not married, he can't nullify that neder. Even though now it's relevant and he hears about it. Maybe he didn't hear about it till now. He heard about it now, and now he has the ability to be made for it. No, because she made the neder when she was not married. The next case, top of pay test.
Or not in the Rusa. Even. Because Rusa, it's Achazbala with her Oris and her father.
So he says this. The case is that she's this. So then it can't be made for the neder that was before.
Right, yeah, that came prior.
How about the opposite case? That she made a neder when she was married, and then it's taking effect after she's not married anymore. Not Ravi B'Shus Abal, Mayfila. But if she made the neder when she was under the jurisdiction of the husband, he could be Mayfir, because you go according to what the neder was made. Okay, Ketzan, the same case that she said, I'm a Nazira, not now, I'm a Nazira after 30 days. But here the case was that she was married when she made the neder, and then by the time 30 days came around, the husband's not there anymore. And raised them mufar. Even though during the 30 days she became widowed or divorced, so now when it comes time to take effect, the husband's not around anymore. So maybe his afara doesn't work only if they're still married. No, it says no, raise a mufa.
I
That
didn't
everything,
get the case, I'm sorry.
she
She
was
made a
married, she was
neder.
married,
She was married and she made a neder.
and the husband was made for it. She said she's gonna be in a zero. He said nothing doing. I don't want a wife who's in a zero.
Isn't that possible?
Yeah, but she got divorced within 30 days. She didn't say I'm in a zero now. She said I'm in a zero, in a zero in 30 days. After a week, he divorced her. Or he
Oh,
died.
Nidra, the same case of
The same case of what?
it's
That
gonna
was-
be in 30
That's
days.
what it says. Lachash loshim.
Uh-huh.
It says it on the second line. Lachash loshim. Omar Hareini Nazir Lachash loshim. Lachal lamed. It says. You see that?
Yeah,
So she said while she's married, she said I'm going to be in a zero in 30 days, and he was made for her. And then when the 30 days came around, they weren't married anymore because he died or divorced her. So does the hafara that he did affect him? It's not relevant to him anymore. So it says it is because everything. So what's the mission? So the mission is consistent. In both cases, you go according to the time of the neder. If at the time of the neder she was not married, he cannot be made for. If at the time of the neder she was married, he could be made for. And you don't care what was the status at the time of the taking effect.
30 days.
You don't care.
It was when
You don't care. You only care about what was at the time of the neder. If she was married at the time of the neder, he could be made for. If she was not married at the time of the neder, he cannot be made for. Even when he finds out about
in
it.
the second case, she's making a neder to kick in 30 days.
Right,
And he nullifies it.
right,
And then he dies or they get
right.
divorced.
If he wouldn't die, then it's possible he could be made for. She said she's gonna be in zero in 30 days and
Yeah,
he
but
made
isn't
for
the whole
right
thing
now.
off even before it started? What's there to talk
But
about?
no, because now that when it takes effect, it's not relevant and maybe it's afar, wasn't a good afar.
Okay. It was
So-
just,
He thought it's gonna be Dvar Shabbeinu Leveinu, or Inu Nefesh, but now at the end it comes out that he's not a husband at the time that is taking place. So his authority is off. In retrospect, we see that he wasn't relevant to him.
but at the time, he
Yeah.
had the authority and so it
Right.
stays.
So the Mishnah seems to say consistently that it goes according to the time of the neder. This halacha that the Torah says that a neder amon grusha does take effect, and if she's married, the husband has the right to have. Everything goes according to the time of the neder. It doesn't go according to the time of the effect.
So it would if they have.
But at the time, it was Dvar Shabbeinu Leveinu. It was going to be Dvar Shabbeinu Leveinu. It could be that you look at the time.
But all the Dharma
Right, so what will be the case over here? Dvar Shabbeinu Leveinu. And now
It's only more fun.
he was made for it. 1 second. He was made for it, and the far is good. But he's saying the far is only good as long as it's relevant to him. So maybe the point of Nazira is because it's an Inu Nefesh. Nazira is an Inu Nefesh. But nice. That's a nice point of listening to saying that every time that a husband is made for a neder because of Dvar Shabbeinu Leveinu, it only takes Tafara is only effective as long as it's relevant to him. But
And then
if
it
it's
kicks
not, then
back in.
it gets
That's
back
what we
in.
said.
They talked about if she remarried, so then it's not relevant to him. Also, if it's going to be in this Gasha not alone, only if she remarried. If she remarried, but if he died, also it's not relevant to him anymore. So then it'll kick in. Interesting, very nice. But the case of Nazir is in Nefesh, he has the right to nullify absolutely. Okay, so far the Mishnah says consistently that it goes according to the time of the neder. It doesn't go according to the time of the effect. There's a new Mishnah now. It's not a new Mishnah. It doesn't have anything. I don't think it has anything to do with the thing we spoke about before about the time of the neder. It doesn't seem to be that subject. New Mishnah. Nadra bo b'yom, v'nizgasha bo b'yom, v'chzir bo b'yom. She made a neder while she was married. She was married. She made a neder. He divorced her, and he remarried her the same day. A quick makeup. So, and it's still the same day. If it wouldn't be the same day, then you only can be made for on the same day. And even if they would have been married the whole day, he only could be made for as long as it's the same day. But here it is the same day.
And we're assuming that he didn't say anything when he got divorced.
Right,
That's the point.
right. So could he be made for now? On the second time around that they married in the afternoon, he was married in the morning, they divorced her, and then after lunch he married her again. Could he be made for them? And then she made in the morning, and they were married the first time. So it says no. Any yachal it's too late. Any yachal canon. And the Mishnah says that once she went out of his jurisdiction, which means when he divorced her, so then he can't be married for anymore. The Gemara before it says on the side to look on Ayin Beis and Manal. Over there, the Gemara brought down this Mishnah, and the Gemara question how to learn the Mishnah. It seems we learned it in Ayin Beis. That's what about 15 days ago.
17.
So the question was, what's pshat on this? Over there, the Gemara had an interesting idea that when he divorces her, he knows that he's not divorcing on the plan of remarrying her. He's divorcing her. Later on, he thought about it again and he took her back, even the same day. But when he divorced her clearly without the intention of marrying her the same day. So the Gemara talks about a concept called that maybe Gerushin is like Hakama. The fact that he divorced her and he now knows he's not going to be able to be made for after he divorces her, he surely can be made for. So maybe that's considered an affirmation. The Gemara brought in that concept, that possibility, that maybe not because that alone, the fact that he divorced her and he knew that he's giving up, like someone said, an example that if he heard the neder and he's taking a sleeping pill, he's going to sleep for the rest of the night. He's sleeping now. He's going to be unconscious. He's going in. He's going to get anesthesia, whatever. He's going to be out till Shkia. So that also is considered a coma. It could be that right away it's a coma. Even if something happened and then he woke up, whatever the case would be, it's too late because by being quiet until the time that he thought is the end of the day, not the day on the sun, but he thought he's not be able to have any more opportunity. So that's also a reason in itself that it should be considered a coma. And the Gemara entertained the possibility. The Gemara came out. The Gemara did not conclude. The Gemara didn't say that. The Gemara kept it as a question. The Gemara had no proof. But it did bring down this Mishnah that you see in Yachal Hakim. That the Gemara says any Yachal, and the Gemara thought the reason is because since he divorced her, that means he gave up. We see that he's serious about it. When he was silent, he meant to affirm it, and it's finished already. Even though he didn't say it's affirmed, it's considered an unspoken affirmation. But the Gemara says no. Here it's talking about a nesua. The Mishnah says that she left his now it's considered when he takes it back a second time, it's considered kodman, and that's what the Gemara says over there. That it's not arrived from this Mishnah. This Mishnah is talking about a nesua, not by a narusa. By a narusa, you could still talk about that because oris is made for kodman. But in our Mishnah, it's simple. The reason why you can't do it is because for the second marriage, it's considered kodman. He was married, he divorced her, he married a second time. The neder was during the first marriage. So even though it's the same husband, he married her back, but it's still considered that this neder was before the second marriage. And that's the reason of the Mishnah. The reason why there's two ways to learn the Mishnah. Either it's because by divorcing her, that was considered a silent affirmation.
Which we have no proof for, but it's a possibility.
Right. And the other possibility, the reason why it's no proof is because you can learn the other possibility over here. That the reason why it's not, he can't be married for is because it's already considered kodman. By a Nesua, he cannot be made for kodman. I will say he can, but on Nesua he cannot. And here it's talking about a Nesua. So the second marriage does not allow him to be made for a neder that he made before the marriage. She made before, even though it was also married to him in the morning. But it's still considered a new marriage, and you can't be made for a kodman the previous nedarim that she had before the second marriage. And the Gemara there leaves the first concept. The Gemara leaves as a question: is Gerushin considered a kodman?
The second husband doesn't even hear.
It's the same husband. There's one husband here. There's one husband.
Say it's he doesn't hear. We consider that
Even if
That's what we just said at the beginning of the mission.
He knows the neder she made. So
when he hears the neder, is allowed to be made for. So a husband cannot be made for neder that the wife made before she was married. By arusa, he can together with the father, and they say that's even the reason why he could, because there's something that has to do with the kodman, because the father's around, he was around, the father was around before the marriage, and he's still partner in the hafara of an arusa. But by nesua, where he's doing it by himself, he can't undo a neder that she made before she was married to him. So in our Mishnah, that's talking about in the Nesua, the reason why he cannot be made for in this case where he divorced her and married her in the same day, the reason why he cannot be made for now is because it's considered a kodman. It's considered a previous neder that she had before this marriage.
and so whatever he has to do, he can do in this marriage, not from before. Yeah, whatever was said in the first time before.
So it's too late. It's too late because it's too late to do it in this marriage because that's a new marriage. This new marriage, she made the neder before this marriage, so he can't be made for it. He had to have been made for it before he divorced her. But if he divorced her and remarried her, he cannot anymore be made for the nedarim that she made in the first marriage.
Unless she repeats the neder.
The neder is already chal. That's because he made a neder again. Doesn't make a difference. She made the neder, and it's already makuyam. It's already he doesn't have the right to be made for a neder that was made in the previous marriage. The Gemara goes into the first part of the Mishnah. They're too much nicer. They put it together, but they should have been printed afterwards. It's not relevant to the beginning of the Mishnah. So what did the beginning of the Mishnah talk about? That there was a time lapse between the time that she made the neder and the time that it took effect, 30 days. And case would have been either that she was not married, then 30 days later she was married, when it takes effect she is married, or when they were married and then it takes effect after the divorce, after he dies. So the Mishnah said consistently that you go according to the time of making the neder. If she was not married at the time of the neder, he cannot be made for it, even though when it takes effect he's already married to her. And the other way that she was married, even though at the time of the neder, even though the time that's going to take effect, it's going to be already they're not married, he could be married for. Everything goes according to the time of the making of the neder. And the Gemara now is going to bring a machlokus about this, that the Mishnah only is one side, maybe. And the Brisa seems to bring a machlokus of two sides. Tanya, Almana ugusha shama hareini nazir nazira lekesha'i nase. It doesn't say the case of 30 days. It seems to be a similar case that she said before, when she was not married, when she was single, she said, I'm accepting upon myself nazirus when I get married. So when she made the neder when she was not married. And then she got married. Then this says. So that's the seems to be the same case as the Mishnah. At the time of the neder she was not married. The time when she made the neder was not married. And when it takes effect, she's already married. So what would be expected from our Mishnah? We would have said that it depends on the time of making the neder, and she was not married. But Rabbi Shmuel Omer Yofer, Rabbi Kiva Omer Yofer. So it seems to be that Rabbi Shmuel goes according to the time of the effect, and since at the time of the effect she's already married, so he could be now mefer. And Rabbi Kiva says no, lo Yofer. Rabbi Kiva seems to be like our Mishnah, that it goes according to the time of making the neder. At the time she made the neder, she was not yet married. So our Mishnah seems to be Rabbi Kiva. It has here a simon, Yud Lamed Lamed Yud, and figure out whatever it means, whatever the simon is. It's supposed to be a simon to remember something here. The only thing I make out of it is my Chavrusa said the Lamed Yud is going to be Lo Yofer, but I don't know.
Yafer, lo yafer, lo yafer, yafer. Yeah.
But this really should be after the next.
So you're saying together with all of them. You're saying that the way to read the Brisa, if you remember which case is first, it'll help you.
You remember, your Shmuel is always first.
And that's also the Yud Lamed also stands for Yishmael, the first and last letter of Yud Lamed.
I think Rashi said what.
Okay. So here you have a Yofer, and then a Lo Yofer, and then coming up soon is going to be a Lo Yofer, and then a Yofer.
Very nice.
And you have to remember that Rabbi Shmuel is first, and also what the case is. Which case is first? The case was first that she was not married,
Not
married,
married.
married, not married.
First she's not married, then she gets married.
Okay.
When she's married, then she.
Okay. If you remember the statement, we're in good shape. Okay. So what happened over here? So she said when she's not married, she said that I'm going to be expecting the Jews for when I get married, and she got married. Rabbi Shmuel says Yofer because right now she's married. Right now you could be made for her because now it's taking effect. So you can be made for her. But Kiva Lo Yofer. How about the opposite?
Because it was before she got married.
Rabbi Kiva says you go according to when she made the neder. And Rabbi Shmuel says you go according to when the neder takes effect. The opposite case, which our Mishnah also said both cases. Right now she's married, and she except for her sex accepts on her nazirus for when she's going to get divorced, and she got divorced. So when it's taking effect, she's already not married. Rabbi Shmuel Omer Lo Yofer, because Rabbi Shmuel consistently goes according to the time that the neder is taking effect, and therefore when it's taking effect, she's not yet married, and she's not married anymore, so he can't be made for. Means, of course, he's going to be made for before. There's no question. There's some, you have to take out the word in his garsha, because of course after she's in his garsha, he can't be made for anymore. The question is to be made for right away. He hears his wife saying that I'm accepting upon myself the zeros for when I'm going to get divorced.
Why does Rabbi Kiva say Yafer?
Because Rabbi Kiva goes according to when she made the neder. When she made the neder, she was still married. Again, it's going to be what Rav Nissen said. That's only because it's the inner nefesh. To be a nazir is considered inner nefesh. And therefore he could be made for, even though it's not relevant to him. It's not going to be relevant. She's going to be divorced already. So according to Rabbi Shmuel, since you go according to the time that the net is taking effect, So when it's taking effect, she's not married anymore. So he doesn't have the ability to be made for that. But the Rebbe Kiva says you go according to the time she made the neder, and so when she made the neder, she's still married. So it seems to be very. Each one seems to be consistent, and also our mission seems to be Rebbe Kiva that you go according to the time that she was making the neder. The Brisa continues to say the reasons for each one. Rabbi Shmuel, Amar Rabbi Shmuel. Where's this? Amar Rabbi Shmuel. Amar Rabbi Shmuel. Harei Omer v'neder mano grusha kol asher nodru asra yakum aleha. So it says, I wouldn't have known this, but he says that it says neder. Neder means the effect of the neder. It doesn't mean her making the neder. The neder means when it takes effect. So he says, that the pasuk that says that the neder of a almana, a grusha, takes effect, that means when it takes effect. So that's where Bishmal gets that criteria here is the time that it's supposed to take effect, both for before marriage to marriage or marriage to after marriage. Everything is dependent on
when it takes
when it takes effect. Rabbi Kiva says there's different pasuk. Dash is a different word. Rabbi Kiva asaba rei omer kol asher asra nafsha yakum aleha. The same pasuk, but he's dashing the neder almana and he's dashing the kol asher asra, whatever she prohibited upon herself. So it goes according to her the prohibition when she prohibited it. Asher he yisurei neder b'shas almanas agerushin. Until everything depends on the time that she prohibited the neder, the time the talking. So each one had a pasuk. So it's pretty consistent. It's pretty. Let's say what the word is. It seems to be flowing with what we said. Our Mishnah says it depends on the time of the neder. The Gemara means a brayso machlokes if it goes according to the time of the neder, which is Rabbi Kiva, or the time of the effect, which is Rabbi Shmuel. Each one brings a pasuk, and our Mishnah seems to be Rabbi Kiva.
They bring really the same pasuk from Darshan.
Right, they say a different word, either the word neder or the word asher asra.
Okay.
That's the end of the brayso, and now the Gemara says, I'm Rav Chisda must see some Rabbi Kiva. Our Mishnah must be Rabbi Kiva. Very nice. That's what he expected. That it goes according to the time of the neder. That's what Rabbi Kiva says. Abaya Amar, Afilu Tei Rabbi Shmuel. You could explain our Mishnah even according to Rabbi Shmuel, which is unexpected. Masnisen Talia Nafsha B'Yomei. And you can skip the next 4 words. We'll put it in soon. Just out of order. The Bach says, our Mishnah didn't say when I'm going to get married or when I'm going to get divorced. Our Mishnah says in 30 days. It happens to be in 30 days you got married or divorced. But in the Mishnah, that she depended herself on the days Shalmu Yomei Velonis Garsha, Shalmu Yomei Velon Bisnasva. It could be that the days will be over and she wouldn't get divorced. The days will be over and she wouldn't get married. So over there, it's not inherently dependent. There's not inherently a difference between the time of the neder and when it's going to take effect. Could be here, Rabbi Shmuel agrees. Just to point out that, put the 4 words in now. Brisa Talia Nafsha B'Nisuin or Gerushin. But the Brisa, the case is not in 30 days. The Brisa's case was Likisha Inase, Likisha as Gorish. Over there, Rabbi Shmuel says that you go according to the time of the effect. But if she said 30 days, which is not necessarily going to change the status of being married, not necessarily is she going to get married, not necessarily is she going to get divorced or widowed. So there, Rabbi Shmuel is going to agree that you go according to Rabbi Kiva's criteria that it depends at the time of the making of the neder. I don't understand why. Why should there be a difference if it's 30 days and it might not happen? Or she said like Kishenose, which is dependent on the change of status. Is there a svara that we can understand why Rishmal is a pasuk? Nedal Monag Rusham was according to the time of the effect. How come it's different if it was 30 days, which is not necessarily going to happen? The Rush doesn't say as far, maybe others on the page do. I didn't see as far for it. But the Gemara says you can reconcile our Mishnah even according to Rabbi Shmuel. He only says when she says it should take effect when I get married or it should take effect when I get divorced, and then you look at the time of its effect. But if it happens to be 30 days, which might not have changed the status, over there also is going to agree. You go according to the time that she made the neder. If that's good, we continue a little bit more. Zakla. This goes back to the second Mishnah on the page. That means the Mishnah that we made into a new Mishnah. The end of the Mishnah said he was married, divorced her, married her the same day. So he cannot be married for anymore because she was already left his jurisdiction. And at the end of the Mishnah, it says Zakla. It says over here Zakla. And then the Gemara is also going to bring us back to a Mishnah on Daf Ayin. What does it say? On Daf Ayin Aleph. There's another Mishnah which is very similar. And over there it talks about in the Arusa, the same story. On the Ayin Aleph, from an Aleph, over there it said Let's say story in Arusa that he divorced and married her, married the same day, or married somebody else. Nadra via Arusa and his Gasha Bobiyom, the Sarsa Bobiyom, Afilu Lameya, Avio Bala Achron, the fear of the Real. Zaklau, Culture Loyotza Lishos Asma Shachas, Avio Bala Achron, the fear of the Real. They're talking about an Arusa on the final from an top on top of the page. Very similar case of our Mishnah, but it's not here. It's talking about the Suin, there it's talking about Erison. Over here it says that once she left the jurisdiction of the father, can't be made for any of the husband. I'm sorry. Here she left the husband. She's just a she's independent. She has her own jurisdiction. So then the husband cannot be made for anymore. They're talking about the father and the Orus, and it says that if she got divorced and married again, Gerishon. So as long as she didn't leave the father, she didn't leave the father's rishus. So then the father still has jurisdiction together with the last husband. She has many husbands, so she still doesn't leave the jurisdiction of the father and the last husband. And over there it also says Zaklal. And the Gemara is going to ask, what is the Zaklal? Usually Zaklal is coming to be Marba. What's it coming to be Marba in both Mishnayos? So we start the Gemara, and the Gemara right away takes us back to the Ayin Aleph. This word that it starts with is not our Mishnah. This Mishnah is Zaklal Diktani Gabi Nama Rasa Lasuye what? Means that says over there Zaklal, and the Ayin Aleph it says Zaklal. As long as she didn't leave the father's jurisdiction, the father and the last husband joined together to be made for the Neder. And it says Zerklau. Why does it say Zerklau? It means we could cut and paste or copy and paste this Gemara to there. That is telling you Chiddush in the word Zerklau. Zerklau to tell you Gabinam Rasa on the Fayin Aleph Lasuye, Halachaav im Shluchi Abal, or Shalchu Shluchi Av im Shluchi Abal, Tavia Ubala Mefir the Way. Take out the word Nam Rasa. I saw that it's the Gersa. In the Kisriya doesn't have these two words. These two words seem to be out of place. The Nam Rasa or redundant or out of place. So there's a chiddush. What's considered not leaving the father's rishus? It says that as long as she didn't leave the father's rishus, as long as she didn't leave the father's jurisdiction, the father still has jurisdiction and could be made for together with the husband. So how does it? What is it called leaving the father's jurisdiction? When she goes over to the husband's rishus, she's in the father's domain. And now when he gives her over to the husband, that's called the transfer of rishus. She goes to the husband. But and it says if the father gives her over to the husband or the shluchi abal, the escort, the husband sends an escort that they should bring his new wife. So if the father gives her over to them, that is called Masir al-Chuppah, I guess. What is that? What is it called? Giving over to his rishus, and she becomes a nesua. She becomes a nesua. But here it says, what's that? Yeah. Here it says that if the father is going along, it's not yet called that he gave her over. If the father went along with this entourage, the whole entourage came to take the bride, but the father's also going along. So it's not called he didn't give her over yet, even though the shluchi abal are there. But if the father or the shluchi abal, either
What does it mean to include? I thought we were saying that we changed domains. So how is it included?
We said it does not. Again, we're going now in the final. We're not going in the pay test.
Yeah.
We're going on over there. It says as long as she didn't go out.
Oh, I see. She didn't go out.
She didn't
We're
go out.
including that he's walking with him. Okay.
That's still called that she's in the father's wishes.
Okay.
This includes that even if she was given over to the husband, it still didn't. It's not called that she left the rishus ha'av because he's coming along or his shluchim are coming along. The father and the husband still have the right to be made because she didn't become independent. And how about our Mishnah Zaklal? Our Mishnah also says Zaklal. Now we're going to talk about the Zaklal that it says on our page. That it says that when she was given, she did get independence. So then the father cannot, or the husband cannot anymore be made for. So why is the Zaklal coming to add on? Zaklal the Tanika Bivelu Nedarim. That's our parak. Our parak is called the Elu Nedarim. What is our Zaklal coming to be marba? Let's see what? That if he did give over, even though in a case where the father's not going along, and even though he didn't give over to the husband, but he gave over to the shluchim, that's also enough. That's considered already that she's given over, and she is out of the rishus of the father. She'ain abal made for b'kol men.
You're talking about the new husband.
Yes, there's a husband. Even if there be one husband, it doesn't have to talk about the fancy case that it was two husbands or the same husband over here in our Mishnah. Here the case was just to tell you what's called the father. When is the father out? The father is out once he gave her over to the shluchi abba without coming
He's
along.
not walking.
He's not walking along. Neither are shluchim, and she's given over either to the husband himself or to a shluchim. That's called that she's already in the husband's rishus, and now the father is out of the picture, and she's called in a suah now, and the husband. It's surely the father is out. The husband himself is not able to make her a because she's in a suah. So if it would have been the father's walking around, then she's not in the suah yet. She's still in Arusa, and the father and the husband together with a joint effort, they could be made. But once it was nimsa, once she was given over to the husband's shluchim, and the father's not going around, neither are shluchim, so then she's considered in the suah, and the father's out, and the husband cannot be made for the kohen. We really have another amr to do. But I'll stop here if it's okay because I didn't get it. So we could maybe just to dip the toes into the Mishnah. There's going to be 3 ways that a girl is not anymore in the rishus of her father.
3 ways that she's
3 ways. The Mishnah says 9, and it says Taisha Nara. Not all of them are going to be a Nara. It says there are 9 girls that the nether is going to be kaim and the father's not able to be mefer, and there's no husband, and it's going to say really 3, but it's going to say 3 times 3. And the question, and the Gemara is going to say you don't really need to say 3 times 3, and the Mephoshim say that the Mishnah is only lachade that it's only coming to sharpen us. But I wasn't sharp this morning yet, so I didn't get it.
Is Bogeres the first one, or did you say kind of?
I'll read it in a second. Just if you see it here in the run, it brings down Yerushalmi, the 3 lines from the bottom. Amin Yerushalmi, Shafar Yehuda, that the reason why it makes it so complicated is just to sharpen us. So just to get the case in more or less without any sharpness. The first case is going to be that she's Yisoma. Bogeres v'Yisoma, but the main issue is going to be here is Yisoma. Yisoma, that's the main point over here. She's a Yisoma. She can be Yisoma in 3 different ways. Yisoma means, Yisoma means an orphan, right? The orphan girl. This one is Yisoma, this one is Yisoma, and then it's going to say a 3rd time Yisoma. And it talks about 3 different Yisomas. One is a Bogeres, and she's a Yisoma, or she's a Nara Bagla, and she's a Yisoma, or she's a Nara Shalom Bagla, she's still a Nara, and she's a Yisoma. That's the first case. And what does Yisoma mean? We're going to see in a second. It's called Mesavia. So what's the difference between Yisoma and Mesavia? So we'll come back to that in a second. Let's make another color for this one. There's another case of Mesavia, Bogeres or Mesavia. Also, it's going to be 3 times. There's going to be 3 times of Mesavia. And that's another 3. And Mesavia means that what we call an orphan girl. So she's out of the jurisdiction of her father because she has no father. Her father died. And the 3rd case, the 3rd group is going to be Bagra. And Mesavia and a Bogeres. So a Bogeres, we know that means she's 12.5 years old. She's out of the jurisdiction of her father, regardless if she's married and if her father's alive or not. Doesn't make a difference. She's a Bogeres. She's out of the jurisdiction of her father. Yesoma and Mesavia. So Mesavia means her father died. That's what we call an orphan. And if the father died, she's out of the jurisdiction of her father. What does Yesoma mean? Does Yesoma not mean the Mesavia? So there's a way that a girl is considered Yesoma B'chayavia. What does it mean, Yisoma B'chayavia? That she married. Once she's married, once she's in the suah, so she's called an orphan, halacha orphan. Not that she's an orphan, the father, but he's out of the. He has no jurisdiction on her. So you call it a Yisoma B'chayavia. It's possible to be an orphan and a father still living. It doesn't mean anything bad about being an orphan. It just means that she's not under his jurisdiction. So it's another way of saying, if she married, if she was in a suah, or the father died, or she's a Bogeres. And just to jump to the Gemara a second, I'm Rav Yehuda, I'm Rav Yehuda, Rav Yehuda. Our Mishnah Rav Yehuda says there are 9. Al Chachamim omrim shalosh naras nidrein kayamim. You can knock it down to 3. You don't have to say 9 cases. Bulgaris, he is Soma, he is Soma's B'chai, he's Soma, 3, simple. So we'll see the complication tomorrow. And all these 3 are not in the jurisdiction of the father, either because the father's not alive, or because she got married, or because she's a Bulgaris. Yes, thank you.
Well, the problem is that it's called Nairos. And, Nairos.
It's not even Naras, it's Bulgaris, that's Bulgaris, so why is it called Naras?
Nairos.
Yeah. Okay, Epis, to be Yotze going into the Amid Beis.